And now, out of all those guys from last year, there are two of them left, and that's obviously Jacob deGrom and Steven Matz. And this to go along with what I think people are describing as a shaky bullpen. Hopefully it'll be better this year than it was last year, and really not the way you want to go into the season. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, all the things that were going on, all the moves that were being made and everything else, injuries still are going to be a factor. And the fact that, you know, Marcus took a ball off the calf in his latest scrimmage game with the New York Mets and now has a torn calf, I don't know when we'll see him. I really don't know. I don't know how bad it is. I don't know what kind of, you know, a grade tear it is. But if it is somewhat significant, we might not see him for at least a month.
Yeah,
I mean, think about that. And by the time
a month
that
is like
happens,
4 months. Yeah, and in this 60-game season, missing a month is like missing the season.
And it's not as if the Mets have the depth of the Yankees. There's no question about that. So that was that was tough to take yesterday because, you know, we're all excited because we have a lot of really top-end quality young players. It's a likable team. It's a great team in terms of, you know, how the fans took to them, especially towards the bottom third of the year last year. And everybody was hoping that this would be their year to bounce back. And now when you take a look at what their starting rotation looks like and you compare it to the teams that they are going to be playing because of this regional sports schedule and the fact that they're playing AL East teams, I can make an argument. If you took Jacob deGrom out of there, they would have the worst rotation of any team that they're going to play against. Now, maybe a couple teams aren't quite as bad, but with Jake in there, you'd like to think, you know, every fifth start is going to be a potential for a win. But after that, I have no idea what to expect from Steven Matz. Rick Porcello, who knows? Michael Wacha, who knows? I mean, you know, this is I can't even think of a worse situation right now than the Mets find themselves in when it comes to their starting rotation. And we all know it is about pitching in this league. It always has been about pitching in this league, except, of course, when you have, you know, the Yankees who seem to hit 5 home runs every game every time they're out. But this is not good. And I'm a positive guy. I'd like to think I'm a positive guy when it comes to looking at these teams and can't wait to see the young players and see how they do. But, man, this has the potential of a disastrous start, and I hope that doesn't happen, man. I don't want to be, you know, 15 games into the season and have these guys, I don't know, 4-11, you know, 5-10, something like that. I don't want to see that. I'm afraid that that's what we are going to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't also want to overreact to Marcus Stroman not being there. It's not good. I don't like the depth. I don't like what's behind these guys. Losing Syndergaard and Stroman, I sort of look at it like that, both those guys not being there and not just losing Marcus Stroman. But remember, you know, Marcus Stroman was an average pitcher when he came over for the Mets last year. He wasn't great. It's not like they won every start that he was in, but the expectation for him this year was he was going to bounce back. He was going to be very good for them. He was going to fill that hole that was left by Zach Wheeler leaving and, of course, Noah Syndergaard being hurt, and you're not going to see him have that opportunity. But, you know, this is not losing Jacob deGrom. I mean, let's get real about it. I didn't know what to expect from Marcus Stroman. I mean, I had a big of a, and we talked about this just yesterday, the day before, there was as big a question mark on Marcus Stroman as there was any of these other guys going into the season, whether it was Steven Matz, Michael Wacha, Rick Porcello, we don't know. So that's a way to maybe look at it glass half full. If Jacob deGrom's back situation turned into something real a few days ago, that would have been the death blow for this team. I still think that they can overcome the loss of Stroman. The issue is bodies at this point. You know, the back end of the rotation, you felt like you had at least a professional pitcher being your fifth starter at some point when Stroman was healthy. Now you don't know what the hell you're going to have. And the question is, Lugo, take him out of the bullpen, make him a starter again, or not? Now, you've got, this is where it's just so maddening to me that you can't count on these guys in the back end of the bullpen. You know, because if you could, it's a no-brainer, right? Because Edwin Diaz comes over as the best closer in baseball. And then you've got Jerry's Familia coming over with the reputation that he has. If those guys you could count on, adding Betances as well, I'm fine with taking Lugo out of there. But what I remember last year is there's one guy in that bullpen that I could trust, and that guy was Seth Lugo. And I am not mentally ready to pull him out of there and stick him in the rotation and leave it up to those guys. So that's what's maddening about this. It should be a no-brainer, and I don't know what they're going to end up doing. I think they're going to end up leaving him in the bullpen.
Well, I know it's probably the right thing to do, but I also know just how important starting pitching is, especially pitchers that can go into the 6th and 7th inning to get to those bullpens that are lockdown bullpens like the Yankees have. But this is really, look, I don't know what to tell you. When I heard it yesterday on Joe and Evan and they were talking about it, I was like, well, you know what? Here we go again. And this is really, really unfortunate. And it's not like I expected Marcus Stroman to go out there and win the Cy Young, but I did expect him to be a legitimate starting pitcher who has had success in this league. And because of the regional nature of the sport this year and because of the teams that we are playing in the American League East, he has familiarity with those teams. So I figured, at least maybe a 500 pitcher, at least he'll eat up the innings that are required each and every time you go out, and at least he'll go out and compete. Now that he's not there, and because they lost Wheeler, and they, of course, as you said, lost Syndergaard to injury, it is just like you are going into this with even Steven Matz is a question mark. Come on. Every single one of them, other than Jake DeGrom, is a question mark now. And you could make an argument that as it stands right now, with the uncertainty of all of it, that it could be the worst rotation in the NL East. Maybe better than the Miami Marlins. That's about it.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
That's about it. They're going to be facing a better pitcher every single day with the exception of when Jake DeGrom is out there. And if DeGrom is going up against starters, they're going to be at least close to what he is.
Well, sure, Scherzer, Cole, guys like that.
Strasburg, you name it.
That are going to be, right, exactly. So, for sure. Now, I will say that the low-risk, high-reward guys that were brought in by Brodie Van Wagenen, there is a high reward still attached to them. You can't dismiss that, especially in a 60-game season in the game of baseball where, someone like Rick Porcello especially. And think about Porcello's career. It's bad year, good year, bad year, good year. Last year was a bad year. He's going to the National League, and he's someone I can see filling that void. Now, it's no lock. There's no doubt about it. But let's not dismiss the fact that Porcello could put together a pretty damn good year for the Mets this year, and I'm actually expecting him to. And Steven Matz, I've seen so much inconsistency from him, it's hard for me to be positive, but maybe this is it. Maybe this is the year. Michael Wacha, I got to see it. I really do need to see it. There is a remember when Brodie Van Wagenen, it's just so funny, one of these things that he should have never said when he became general manager. Like, he said a lot of crazy stuff. He mixed metaphors, and he guaranteed things, and it was just crazy. One of the things that he said in the beginning was, we have to eliminate the ifs. There's a lot of ifs on this roster, and we need to eliminate the ifs. And he came in and made more ifs than I've seen the Mets have. Right. And I don't know how. Now, it's not all his fault. It isn't. But a lot of it is. Like, Jed Lowry has been an if and then a no. You bring in two guys who are as big ifs as you could possibly imagine in Porcello and Wacha. Now, I know he didn't expect them to be in this position. He expected them to be depth starters, fifth starters, sixth starters. Someone goes down, they end up being in the rotation. But, those are big ifs. Keeping Steven Matz around is a major if. Even Marcus Stroman turned into more of an if than anything else. Yoenis Cespedes, an if. Robinson Cano, an if. Dom Smith, is he going to play today? Where is he going to play? It's just so many of these unanswered questions on the Mets roster. You just don't know how it's going to go, and you wouldn't be surprised if they ended up winning their division or ended up being the worst team in it.